Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like fate is playing the biggest joke on Geno Auriemma. The once revered UConn coach is finding himself in the middle of what could have been as Caitlin Clark continues to redefine what it means to be a basketball phenom. And what's the kicker? Geno passed on her deliberately, or how the mighty have stumbled at Coach Geno Auriemma of the UConn Lady Huskies, and some
Coach Geno Auriemma of the UConn Lady Huskies, and some comments he made just a few months ago about Caitlin Clark. And you've heard it said before, so I'm going to say it again. Those comments did not age.
Comments he made just a few months ago about Caitlin Clark. And you've heard it said before, so I'm going to say it again. Those comments did not age well. Let's rewind to the moment Gino Auriemma made the decision that might haunt him for the rest of his career. Caitlin Clark was lighting up the court with video game stats. We're talking absurd numbers that even your favorite basketball simulator couldn't replicate. Points, assists, leadership. Clark had it all. There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA, but Gino went all in on Paige Bueckers instead, the Golden Girl, the next phenomenon, and at the time, it might have seemed like a reasonable choice. After all, Bueckers was seen as a star in her own right, and UConn was already a powerhouse. But here's the thing, not only did Gin reject Caitlin Clark, but he also doubled down.
The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for
and humiliated her in front of the whole world. The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on what are like she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at a WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning. Well, guess who's the delusional one now? Gino. You put all of your eggs in one Paige Bueckers, and she's not doing remotely good compared to Caitlin Clark, because guess what? Caitlin Clark isn't just making headlines, she is the headline Triple Crown winner of Time Athlete of the Year, SBJ Sports Person of the Year, and Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year. Clark is obliterating every ceiling that once loomed over women's basketball. They went on to talk about her leading Iowa to the national championship game, and then she became the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, and then went on to win Rookie of the Year. From there, you guys, she has won so many awards and broken so many records, it's actually become a meme at this point because it's just crazy. People are putting together graphics. Let's be real here. Geno Auriemma made the biggest blunder of his career by underestimating Caitlin Clark, and now is left holding the metaphorical bag filled with questions, regrets, and the unpleasant smell of poor judgment. Clark's success isn't just a win for her, it's a public indictment of Geno's decision-making and his pride. Notice what he says, though. He says that those of us who believe that Caitlin Clark would excel in the WNBA from the start even were delusional and stupid, and as time has gone on, well, I'm gonna have to say they still not as good as they think they are. That's right, Clark's success has forced Geno to eat his own words. Geno was hoping for a Paige Bueckers era and wishing for Clark's downfall, but it has backfired terribly on him. Now let's talk about Paige Bueckers, the player Gu bet the house on, and the player who was supposed to carry the torch for UConn and lead the program into another golden era, except things haven't exactly gone as planned. It is skepticism of Paige Bueckers that she's not going to be transcendently good. BU's career has been constantly marred by injuries and unfortunate accidents which have sidelined her for significant chunks of time and disturbed her trajectory. While she's been showing flashes of brilliance here and there, these moments are too few and far between as a freshman, so her shooting's gotten worse, and overall, if you just watch her play, she's being less aggressive, she's shooting less shots than she did as a friend, she's shooting less shots than she did last year. She doesn't play as a true point guard, and for me anyway, I think that's a fault of Geno Auriemma. With the 2025 WNBA draft coming up, there's a real hype that Bueckers might not even be going first overall. That's right, the player Geno Auriemma hitched his entire wagon to might not even be the top pick, and here's where it gets juicy. Geno might be the one who ruined Paige's success as well, with Paige Bueckers and the UConn Huskies front and center this season in women's basketball. Some fans are starting to question Gino Auriemma's coaching style and wondering if it's truly what's best for Paige beyond the glaring mistake of passing on Caitlin Clark. Fans are starting to question if Gino's coaching style is stifling Paige Bueckers' development. Could it be that the very man who was supposed to guide Paige to basketball greatness is actually holding her back? Whether or not Geno Auriemma destroyed Paige Bueckers as a basketball player, that's right, folks. New evidence has come out that rules out this as mere speculation. Gino's public comments and coaching philosophy might be having a much more negative effect on Paige Bueckers. Why? Because a lot of fans are pointing out that Gino has a habit of saying things to the media about his team and his players that come off as more critical than constructive. He basically said, well, Paige just likes to stand around, she's not really aggressive, and she's not going to go after the ball, so that's just what Paige likes to do. He kind of threw her under the bus, and a lot of fans are starting to notice that Gino says a lot of things to the media about his team, about his players, that are starting to rub certain people the wrong way. Take Paige Bueckers, for instance. She's a player with a fantastic skill set, someone who could dominate the court and redefine what it means to be a UConn legend, yet she's been criticized season after season for not being aggressive enough on the offensive end. Fans and analysts alike have questioned her killer instinct, especially when compared to someone like Caitlin Clark. Going to UConn ruined Paige Bueckers, but I'm sorry, since Brian Stewart, UConn have not produced
a good WNBA player.
Use a good WNBA. Oh, sorry. This raises an important question. Is Gino's approach to coaching stifling Paige's ability to grow into the aggressive, take charge player she has the potential to be if Paige is constantly worried about making mistakes or about how her coach will publicly criticize her? It's no wonder she's hesitant to take risks on the court. So where does that leave Gino? He was terribly wrong about Clark, and now that is potentially ruining Paige. You have to wonder if Gino is sleeping well these days. Is he tossing and turning, replaying the moment he decided to pass on Clark? He was wrong. That's my number one thought, is that Gino was way off and was wrong. Is Gino haunted by the thought of what UConn could have been with her at the helm? If he's not, he should be, because here's the thing, coaches like Gino build their legacies on their ability to spot talent and make the right calls, and in this case he whiffed hard as Clark continues to dominate and Bueckers fights to stay relevant. One thing is clear, the basketball world will never forget the day Gino Auriemma passed on Caitlin Clark, and neither will he. So what do you think? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget you'll like, share, and subscribe for more updates from the world of basketball. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Music comments he made just a few months ago about Caitlin Clark, and you've heard it said before, so I'm going to say it again. Those comments did not age well. Let's rewind to the moment Geno Auriemma made the decision that might haunt him for the rest of his career. Caitlin Clark was lighting up the court with video game stats. We're talking absurd numbers that even your favorite basketball simulator couldn't replicate. Points, assists, leadership. Clark had it all. There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA, but Geno went all in on Paige Bueckers instead, the Golden Girl, the next phenomenon, and at the time it might have seemed like a reasonable choice. After all, Bueckers was seen as a star in her own right, and UConn was already a powerhouse. But here's the thing, not only did Gin reject Caitlin Clark, but he also doubled down. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like fate is playing the biggest joke on Geno Auriemma. The once revered UConn coach is finding himself in the middle of what could have been as Caitlin Clark continues to redefine what it means to be a basketball phenom. And what's the kicker? Geno passed on her deliberately, or how the mighty have stumbled at coach Geno Auriemma of the UConn